Welcome to the Amazon Legends podcast, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became powerful sellers, also experts specializing in helping sellers, and both former and current Amazon employees who will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here's your host, Nick Urison.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today is a veteran of the professional beauty industry. He's a former Amazon seller and currently the CEO and founder of beBOLD Digital, which is an agency for Amazon sellers. And there's something interesting about him. Wherever he goes, he stands out. It's impossible not to notice this guy because he's 6'7". And is a former college basketball player, so you cannot miss him. So with that, everybody meet my guest, Denny Smolinski. Welcome to the show, Denny.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, like I said, now that trade shows are back in effect, I show up, whatever, and I walk in and people say, oh my goodness, you're so much taller in real life than you are on Zoom. I said, well, Zoom, I fit in the real world as far as that stuff. I'm the same height as everybody. So
yeah, I think you do it on purpose, because you look so small here. I think it's this is like, I talk about negotiation all the time, and I say most negotiations, they're 50% over before even you meet the person. It's all about preparation. So I think you're setting these expectations real low by appearing very small and
we come with the big guns. Come with the big guns after that stuff. So
exactly. So when you and I first connected and talked Amazon, you mentioned that you have a methodology to leverage one of the most important factors for conversion, which is everything. So tell us what that methodology is.
One of the factors is, again, you have, your images and your copy and everything like that nature. But, the biggest thing is people are reading reviews and ratings as far as that. And those are very, very important. One of the things that we do is you can combine products into parent-child relationships, but sometimes those ratings, you might have 100 ratings, 100 ratings, 100 ratings. But when you're going through switching through the various either sizes or colors, it may be 100 ratings, 100 ratings, 100 ratings per item. Well, a lot of times you have to contact Amazon to support to aggregate and group those together. So the day is, instead of 100 ratings per item, you see 300 ratings. Well, that's a lot more powerful than, just 100 ratings, whatever it may be. And again, you start getting into the thousands and thousands of ratings and reviews. That's very powerful to, again, help to build your momentum, your Amazon, flywheel momentum as far as that stuff. So
okay, what you're talking about is structuring your listings in a way that will have, first of all, parent-child relationship, right?
Correct.
So let's dissect this, because as you know, nothing on Amazon is simple. Everything has all different scenarios. So first of all, let's take a clean slate and start with a seller who is just creating a listing. So, and two ways to go about it. They can create these individual listings and then launch them one by one, or they can create a parent listing, and under that, they can put all the child SKUs, in which case you have one listing, but under it, people come to the page, they see multiple options under it. So it's two different scenarios. So scenario one, individual listings. What you're talking about cannot be done, right? Because they're all standing alone separately.
Correct.
So, however, there is a way to change that, right?
Correct. So when you create the parent-child, if we're going off a simple product launch, I suggest not creating a parent-child relationship until you've submitted we'll call it 3 items, each of those 3 items in Divine. So in Divine, you can get up to 30 reviews per product. If those items are part of a parent-child relationship already, when you submit the products in Divine, you can get a maximum of 30 reviews for all 3 items because they're already grouped. So I suggest submitting keeping them separate until you submit your items all into Vine. You get your 30 reviews per item, and then, well, up to 30 reviews per item. Then you create your parent-child relationship. Then instead of 30 for the whole grouping, you have potentially up to 90 reviews, not ratings, reviews for that parent-child relationship.
Okay, this is very interesting, and it's worth debating because, as you know, there are pros and cons, right?
Sure.
So we have to. So okay, let's dive into this. I really enjoy this kind of conversation because you are looking at all different angles. So let's take this route where we launched 3 different listings, and each one is gonna receive orders based on your campaign. And some of those orders will end up leaving a review. And what you're talking about is at some point create a parent and bring them all together and then combine. We'll talk about the mechanics of that later, but how does that compare to running a separate campaign, PPC campaign, and then potentially, splitting your budget, splitting your traffic to different places? Each one is going to convert different because on the page you have different. So in your experience, what is the gain by being able to consolidate reviews versus splitting your paid campaign?
I have this debate with my VP of advertising all the time, and like he said, he likes to. And we talk about splitting items because, if a seller or a brand has 4 items, 3 items, whatever it may be, well, he's like, well, we can get more coverage on the page, if we have 3 items or 4 items separately. My expertise tells me a lot of times is, yes, we paid, that click to get into the product page. I want to keep that person there. I want to offer all 15 colors. I want to offer 3 different sizes.
Right.
I don't want the customer leaving the page and going, oh, let me see if I can find something else in a different color or different size, whatever it may be. We paid that, that dollar, that click to get there. And again, we're trying to make the most of our customers' money as well, too, is, and we treat their money as if it's our money. We're not just there to spend. So I want to drive that customer to that page. I want to keep that customer on the page. I want them to look at images. I want to look at reviews and ratings. I want them to look at A+ content. I don't want them going anywhere as far as that stuff. So,
but you just made my argument. So which one? Do we split to collect the multiple reviews to combine later, or do we push them all on one page where you have many options?
It's a tough call. Like I said, a lot of times is initially we will split initially. Again, for product launch, we'll split, show everything to the customer. Really depending on how big your, catalog is. As an example, if a product launch is, say we have a product that has 10,000 ratings already. If we have a new color, we literally will add that product or that additional color to that parent-child relationship, and that color will benefit already off all those ratings and reviews from that specific product. Otherwise, that product, there's no sales history, there's no nothing, so it's on page 2, page 10, which might as well be on the moon as far as that stuff. So because most people aren't buying on page 2 or 10 on Amazon, so.
Yeah. I mean, you said it. It's a tough call because if it's a new launch and you are launching a bunch of SKUs at the end of the day, each variation is an individual SKU. Creating a separate one, you're gonna collect definitely reviews, and reviews especially when you are launching at the beginning, you've got nothing, so anything you get is gonna increase you. So and then being able to consolidate them all is a huge advantage. But then you have multiple sets of conversion rates to track, multiple sets of advertising budget to manage. So it's one thing or the other. Let's talk about the mechanics of it. So let's say that you have 5 individual ASINs, you combine them all under one parent. It doesn't just automatically happen, right? Because when you create that through the listings in Seller Central or through flat files, it's random. So there is some work that needs to be done. So tell us about what's involved.
We usually do, so my operations catalog team, we usually do flat files. We feel like that's the most efficient way to build parent-child relationships. There is stuff in Seller Central or the UI to build that, both in vendor as well too. Vendor is flat file. We open through a support ticket to have the support team generate us that parent-child relationship as far as that stuff. So yeah, the UI is there, but the UI can be bug ridden, or any seller out there knows, or any experienced type of seller knows and says, there's a red thing, can't complete, can't do this, and it's frustrating. Then you open a ticket anyways with support, and then hopefully knock on wood, you get a good seller support person that can help you. And be honestly, I don't trust Amazon support. Like they said, they do things. You just have to make sure you follow up and follow through again and again and again. So
yeah. So when you create, I totally agree. I always work with flat files myself. So you create them, and you know how it is. You go to Seller Central, add items via upload, whatever, and then you submit it, and then you get the processing report. You have all kinds of errors. And then you're thinking, well, how can there be so many errors? Of course, one error triggers another error that triggers another error. So it's a frustrating process. But let's assume in the end, it all goes through. So you have one listing with 10 reviews, another listing with 20, another listing with 30. So 30, 20, 10, altogether 60. It doesn't magically suddenly appear all 60 reviews on the parent, right? You have to open a ticket with Amazon and say what exactly?
You just said, hey, you always provide as much, information, or be very specific. Hey, this is the parent ASIN, these are the children ASIN. I would like to aggregate or combine, the ratings reviews, together for this grouping as far as that stuff. Because again, I've seen it sometimes happen, but most of the time, no. It just said it remains, separated as far as that stuff. So, you got to pay attention. There's Amazon is not a set it and forget it. Like, oh, it's gonna, we don't worry about it. We go do account sweeps every single day on every one of our accounts, both vendor and seller, to ensure everything is correct, because Amazon will change. There's been some stuff recently.
Yeah.
So
that brings me to the second scenario. Second scenario being you launch right from the get-go as parent-child. Now, in that case, there is no more aggregating anything, because right from the get-go, you're going to start to get reviews and it's going to show up under the parent, right?
But you got to get some sales. So how do you get sales? It's chicken or the egg as far as that stuff. You got to get the sales to get the reviews and the ratings, and it's a chicken and egg. So like I said, product launches can be difficult, and for the number of people that say, oh yeah, I'm killing Amazon, it doesn't happen overnight. We tell our clients, or any new launch clients or products, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, to get there as far as that stuff. So
yeah. So in the case of launching as a parent-child right from the get-go, you don't really know at any point in time which child got how many reviews, right? Everything shows up under the parent. That's another thing that I'm thinking. Have you seen a situation where you can see exactly how many each child got or not?
I don't know. It's a good question. I didn't think about that as far as that. I never looked individually. A lot of times I just look at the total reviews or ratings out there as far as that stuff.
Yeah.
I can't remember if you can look at individual or not. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, because you can also go the other way around. Like you can start with parent-child and then separate them. So I'm wondering, I wonder what would happen if you separated and how many reviews each one would get?
I mean, you're going to track by ASIN anyways. So, I mean, if you separate them out, you would see it. But in the day is, you would just, your overall ranking on Amazon would just drop. As soon as you combine all those ratings and momentum and sales together, that's what I said, your ranking, greatly improves. If you take, for example, we had an item break apart over the weekend, we were trying to fix something, parent-child. I mean, we went from, number 42 in beauty to like number 800 in beauty, 800, 801, 807, whatever it may be, because all those individual products were broken apart. So, I highly suggest putting items together, but there's also some cheaters out there that, they put items together part of a parent-child that shouldn't be together because they want to benefit off of that one main product's ranking. So I report them to Amazon, and then, I don't know if Amazon takes care of them or not, but like I said, it's just play fair. So
so this is valuable information. I mean, I frankly advise my clients always to somehow create parent-child relationships, but in a way. And people say, well, we don't have different colors, we don't have different sizes. How do we do that? Well, it's very easy. You create packs, you create bundles, and they deliver value because they're priced much more competitively, and the customer will receive much more value. Plus, you have the option of, frankly, increasing your average order value because you got more that merchandise you are selling in the process.
Yeah, like I said, big fan of, like I said, to me, anything, there's Amazon has their quote unquote light and small program, but like I said, anything under $10, honestly, $15, there's not a lot of margin left in the product. Anything under $10 to advertise. And you said, what do you need to sell your product?
Exactly.
You need to advertise, you need the ratings, reviews, you need, all of it together to get it moving. So, if you could bundle it to get it to $15, $20, $25, now you have a lot more margin in there to ultimately, spend more money in advertising, get more sales, and ultimately get more ratings and reviews. So
yeah, definitely. So another thing that I want to really pick your brains on is because you've been in beauty industry. I spent time in beauty industry, when I was an Amazon seller. Professional beauty especially is heavily regulated, right? So give us some tips for those who are looking to get into beauty industry as a seller or already in it.
Be honestly, you have to have in the beauty industry, if you're launching a product, you almost have to be in multiple channels. If you're a professional beauty product, you have to be somewhat in professional distribution, meaning selling a distributor who's selling to salons, spas, barbershops, etc., and Amazon, or TikTok. Those multi-channel help both brands grow. Perfect example, we have a brand that launched in professional beauty distribution. We went on to Amazon and gated the brand because of the professional beauty distribution sales. It helped our Amazon sales because not every salon can carry all 30 products. So maybe they carry 12. And so it helps both channels as far as that, and say, hey, we're not discounted Amazon. When the distributor walks into the salon or spa and the salon goes, oh, wow, this is great. We can compete on pricing. So it's helped both channels grow simultaneously month over month over month as far as that stuff.
So as far as the order of it, which one do you launch first? Do you launch on Amazon to establish the brand, collect some feedback, and then go the distribution route, or do you go the distribution route first, or all at the same time?
I would say same time, because to get in the professional or premium beauty program in Amazon, it takes about 3 months to get fully Amazon doesn't like the word gated, but it takes fully gated. They like to say authorized selling platform, which is quote unquote gated. As far as that, gated means no other sellers are allowed. The program will allow you to authorize other sellers. Example, Paul Mitchell, major hair care brand everybody knows. They authorize 3 or 4 additional sellers. They're probably distributors are there. They've had some type of long-term relationship with these, distributors as far as that stuff. So it's a win-win for the brand. But honestly, if I were brand new brand, I would launch everything simultaneously, because if we launch today, distributors are going to be ahead of time. Gives it time to get in the salons, spa. It's not really listed on Amazon yet. But like I said, it takes about 3 months for the brand to get totally gated as far as that stuff on Amazon. So
what about we're talking about launching your own private label professional beauty product, right? So when you go to distributors, you're not a big player yet. What is stopping distributors from selling to wholesalers who then end up selling on Amazon and competing with you?
Contracts, you can put very specific contracts in place. But again, good luck. There's a number of brands actually will have in nail polish, perfect example. They'll have on the bottle, they'll have 3 or 4 different hidden codes in there. Sometimes they'll have it, there'll be a UV, there'll be a tracking. To be honest, OPI started it back in the day. They had different ways of tracking across the board. And so OPI was able to track it down. But when you get to a certain level of, 50, 60, 100 million, 150 million, are you really going to track down, some little small distributor over here? You can send a cease and desist letter, over and over. The people that are the complete discounters, they don't care. Like I said, they're like, oh, come get me. They'll just, they'll probably get 500 cease and desist letters every year as far as that stuff. And, they don't really care. They call it up, throw it in the trash and call it a day. But as a brand launching out, you have to have distributor contracts in place, very specific language. But again, is that still going to stop them? No, not specifically. That's why it suggests going into gating on Amazon. Is it more expensive? Yes, it is. It costs you another, I don't know if I can really say, but another larger percentage of your sales. Then the day is you don't have to go play whack-a-mole, chase everybody around. You can control, your pricing. You can control, there's no other sellers. Now, with that being said, is, with no other third-party sellers, is you have control of the buy box. You now can continue to advertise. You can build that flywheel momentum over and over and over, and just continue to ramp up from there. So, with having third-party sellers is sometimes your ads, if you're not winning the buy box, well, your ads aren't going to show. So that's been a history, and that's what we do, focus on primarily.
Yeah. So you mentioned gating. So as a brand owner, can you get Amazon to gate your category or your category for your brand to stop others from selling? How does that work?
Well, it's primarily in the beauty space that's gating. You're a big brand, for example, like Bose or, Apple or something like that. I'm sure you have some more, political power or legal power to go and say, Amazon, hey, you need to gate this. Beauty to me is only category where there's brands that are allowed to be gated. And there's a couple of criteria, professional beauty and premium beauty. They're both lumped under the premium beauty category. Both professional and premium beauty have a 1P or vendor and 3P program, which is newer. To be qualify for the professional beauty is you have to be sold through salons, spas, professional beauty distribution. To qualify for the premium, you have to be sold in stuff such as Nordstrom or Sephora or Ulta or a premium, retailer as far as that stuff. It's not guaranteed, that you get into the program just because you're in one of these as far as that stuff. I know some brands that were in professional beauty got kicked out of professional beauty because they were such a large brand and they were pretty much everywhere. They said, Amazon said, hey, sorry, you're everywhere. You're not really professional. So we're just going to kick you out of the gated program. And so they've been fighting to, get their margins back down, get everything in control. It's
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you is actually now it's become more clear to me why you would want to launch distribution and Amazon at the same time. Because if you are launching through distributors to sell to salons, now automatically that qualifies you to be a brand that can be gated on Amazon.
correct.
And then you don't have to worry about it because I've been in beauty industry. I know this game in terms of I was not one of those people where
Sure.
I would get so many. I guess anybody would say that, but frankly, I just did not want the headache, and also I didn't need to because I had direct relationships with the main distributors as well as main brands, and I would still get letters.
Of course.
And nobody can say anything. I was buying my merchandise from secondary wholesalers in some cases. And, it's when you are a reseller, you are there to make money.
100%.
So how do you make money? By buying product at a competitive price and then selling it. And so if I found something that was competitively priced, then I would buy it. And I don't care if it's gated or not. I have a legitimate commercial invoice. It's not gated. And if I get a letter from somebody saying, oh, why are you selling? Excuse me, look at my invoice.
Sure.
This is America. So that is possible. However, if you go the route that you suggested, then you can totally gate your brand and then nobody else can get in. That's a big advantage.
Because again, the reason why I'm in the position I am today is, I was a seller on Amazon back in the day. And again, I sold everything. I sold nail polish, I sold hairbrush, I sold waxing kits. I bought it and I sold it at, whatever the retail price was. I didn't discount the product, couldn't do anything wrong. Whatever I put on Amazon, I sold it. It was a comb, it was, a waxing kit, it was, you name it, I sold everything.
Yeah.
But I wasn't discounting. But as everybody figured out that you can sell on Amazon pretty simply, margins went boom, 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 and then flipped down. And then it was, to be honest, a lot of it became I have a pallet of this product. I need cash flow. I'm just going to go on Amazon, blow it out, discount it. So I got to the point where, that's where I developed my own brand of products along the way. And then, ultimately formed an agency to help, primarily beauty brands, in the space because you can't talk to anybody Amazon. Amazon says, oh, they sign you up and say, hey, come to the program. They give you the thing. And they're like, okay, well, thanks. We got you signed up and, good luck, figure it out. So, they would say it's not very helpful in some aspects. And listen, I get it. Amazon, they're about process, procedures, and systems. People get tired. People get sick, whatever it may be. A computer really doesn't get sick, so.
Yeah, exactly. So, I had, I remember those days. They were both fun and agony.
Sure.
So you get
100%.
You're damned if you have to. And those days there was no FBA for us, so we were doing our own shipping because it's hazardous, right? So
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about numbers in terms of metrics. What metrics do you track on Amazon? Give me your top 3 numbers that you watch when you launch a listing.
Usually with a client, we ask them, up front, we lay out 3, 6, and 12-month projections. We're pretty decent, but we said we can't control a lot of times that 3, 6, and 12-month projections. So we ask them and say, hey, what is your budget for ad spend? What is your tacos number you want to stay at? We like to use tacos. And then, ultimately sales. And so, but we adjust that 3, 6, and 12-month plan on a monthly basis because we look back and say, what happened last month? Did we spend too much? Did we spend too less? What happened? Why did we hit our projection numbers? So those numbers are always changing. Big organizations have, budgets and layouts and, and projections, whatever it may be. But as a product launch, you have to be very nimble to look at things. And so, going back, I said, ad spend, tacos are probably our top two that we ask for, numbers that we need to stay in. To me, 5% tacos is just maintaining. 8's going to push you a little bit out there to kind of get you on those general keywords. If you're in a 12 to 20% tacos, especially on a product launch, is very important because you have to get momentum, you have to get those reviews, you have to get those ratings, ultimately get the product in the customer's hands. So, and we tell our customers, just being honest up front, you may not make money in 3 months, 4 months, as far as that stuff. If you guys can't sustain that, then you shouldn't be launching on the Amazon or whatever it may be. So, we're just honest and upfront with people to make sure they completely understand, because everybody, you see all these mastermind classes, and they're like, oh, how to sell on Amazon, make millions and millions of dollars. Well, it's not easy. It's really not easy. And everything you and I, Nick, you and I talk about today completely changed tomorrow as far as that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a constantly moving target. So, okay. So for the listeners' benefit, you refer to tacos. So tacos, total advertising cost of sale. So what that means is you spend $100 in advertising, and those clicks that you paid for may have generated $300 in sales.
Total sales.
Sales. No, $300 sales on the paid clicks. But also you may have appeared in organic searches somewhere in the middle of the page, or at the end of the page, or on page 2 page. You never know where you show up.
Sure.
And then people may click on it and then come to your page that you're not paying for, and they may have spent an additional $700. So now your take cost is $100 spent in ads, but altogether $300 plus $700,000 in sales. So that's your 10%. That's what you're referring to.
Correct.
So ultimately, that's what counts.
Yes.
However, at the beginning, nobody really knows you. There is no organic appearance anywhere, right? So most of it will rely on the paid clicks.
Correct. Because you're probably on if you're not on page 1, you're not anywhere. You might as well not even be, you might as well not be anywhere as far as that stuff. And so, right. Like I said, it's very difficult to, launch a beauty product, or whatever it may be, and you have to have, money behind you a lot of times. If you don't have, money to spend advertising to grow. And again, it's not just launching on Amazon, is what else do you have? Do you have beauty product distribution? Do you have TikTok? Do you have Instagram? Do you have social media influence? Are you on Today's Show? Are you getting that type of exposure as well too? We see big jumps every time one of our clients is on Today's Show. They usually spike that day, and have a trail off the next 2 days. But again, great. That's a nice big spike for them as far as that stuff. But that's the outside influences that are very, 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 very important to be successful on Amazon.
Well, this is actually interesting. I follow politics quite a bit. A long time ago, I heard the saying about all these candidates, because they go on the debate, right? Everybody is looking to shine on the debate. And one of the pundits said, you want to be careful as a candidate to really pin your hopes on a debate, because those who rise by debates fall by debates, because it's a one night, right? So yep. This is the same thing. So if you are relying on appearance on this show, appearance on that show, it's great, but that's not a trend. That's a one-time deal. And then what happens later? And also whatever happens on that one day or one night or whatever, you need to service it. And you're not ready for it. It's impossible to be ready because you don't know.
Yeah.
So I always say, go for the long haul. Don't go, step by step, one step at a time. So I understand the 3 metrics. When I say 3 numbers, You mentioned the takeouts, you mentioned the the projections and the total sale. How about the individual? Because those things come from performance. So the performance. So I'm more interested in what numbers are you watching to get a sense of the performance of the listings.
Like I said, you can see, we have software use. We can, we look and see the ratings and reviews as well too. Again, they all work together in harmony. A sale is going to give you an opportunity to get a rating and review. Amazon switched their system around from only reviews to ratings. We go 2 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, because I, Denny, am not going to write a 20-word review for a product. I'm just not going to do it. Listen, but I'll click a 5-star, a 4-star, a 5-star, a 3-star, 5-star on the 5 items I ordered from Amazon because it's easier. And so, it in those ratings reviews help a brand grow globally, because those ratings reviews are shared on a global scale as far as that stuff. So, so it is, like I said, it's one of the keys to being successful on Amazon as far as that stuff. So,
other than ratings and reviews per listing, what else should sellers be watching?
Like I said, if you set up your product to become retail ready, you've optimized your title, your bullet points, you have, keywords in there that high search volume keywords, you have the images that tell you, like with retail, what is it? What does it do? How do I use it? And specifically in beauty is, key ingredients, or, in becoming eco-friendly, or has become very important recently. And then along with that, the plus content. So as long as you set up your page for success, you should be successful. But one thing is, we also take negative reviews. We don't think of them as completely bad. Here's a specific example. I was reading some reviews, and people kept saying, "Hey, the cap keeps coming off and it's spilled over the package." And there's 3, 4, 5 of them out there. So I went back to my client and said, "Hey, do you have an issue, like a production issue with your caps that are going to be?" And, he says, "I don't know. Well, let me go see." So he went back to the contract manufacturer. Well, come to find out, the contract manufacturer has an automated cap tightener. Well, the production team wasn't doing the automatic cap tightener. They were hand tightening things. So it was a production issue that, the reviews helped to find out. Otherwise, and it would have spiraled down. And so after so many reviews, Amazon will just literally say, "Hey, we flag your product, what's wrong with it? We have to dispose of your product. We can't do that." So the day is, I don't take negative reviews as so much negative, but sometimes they can be very helpful in the scenario.
I mean, I can share a story on this. It's unbelievable. And what you said is so true. Do not take the negative reviews as negative. They are what people are telling you that you can do to make your product better.
Yeah.
And of course, in the process, you are getting reprimanded by Amazon. They can close your listing that you have to appeal for later, but you have to really take it to heart. So what happened was, I had a client. She had, as it happens in beauty, she had these little patches that you could put on under your eyes, on your chest, to remove wrinkles.
Yeah.
So when she came to us, I started analyzing, her listings, all the numbers and everything. And I found that her listings were getting negative reviews. But she was one of those who just did not have any interest in looking at numbers. And, sellers usually they go defensive.
Oh, sure.
So
I have the best product in the world. Mine's the best ever. I don't understand why. So
yes, it is. Oh, they are stupid. The customers, of course, the customers are stupid, and you still need their money. So anyway, that was the response. So anyway, I start reading these reviews, and then it says, "Oh, the product is so bad. It falls off. It falls off." So many people saying it falls off, and I said to her, "Listen. Is there any way that this thing, like, you stick on and then it falls off?" She says, "No way." She says, "We tried it so many times. There's no way it's falling off." And then she says, "They are probably stupid. They are not removing the film." They are not. When she said they are not removing the film, I said, "What film are you talking about?" You know what apparently was happening? So this thing is like a patch.
Yeah.
And they put a protective film over it. So when you want to use it, you would need to peel the film off. A lot of people didn't see the film. They were just putting it on.
Of course.
And she's saying, "Oh, they're stupid and nothing." I said, "Listen, you must close all your listings today and pull all the inventory and then remove before use on those films. Otherwise, you're going to lose your listing." And it was so easy to fix. But obviously it costs money, but
sure,
which one is better, right? And it all came from, by the way, it came from, of course, negative reviews, but it came from somebody reading those freaking reviews and saying, "Oh,
well, 100%." And people say, "Oh, the instructions are in the box." Here's the deal. I mean, the first thing I do when I get, I'm putting something together, I throw the instructions completely away. We're not look at the instructions. So listen, forget the instructions.
Nobody reads instructions. Nobody.
No. Like I said, it's, like I said, you got to make it completely dummy proof, unfortunately.
So you still have not used the word that I was expecting to hear about metrics. Which numbers are you watching on the listing performance? Let me see if you're gonna say it.
Momentum.
C word. Conversion.
Oh, yes.
It's a big one, right?
It is. Like I said, it is. Again, it's all numbers that combine together. If you look at just one metric, I mean, like I said, you can say, hey, for example, brought a client on recently from another agency. They said, "Oh, look at our conversion rate, look at our A cost." But I said, you have more ad sales than you do organic sales. How is that possible? Well, after you start digging in, there's third-party sellers, is this wrong, that wrong. Like I said, you got to look at multiple numbers to really see, what's going on with the account as far as that stuff. Like I said, if you're, again, with Amazon's, A9, or actually it's A10 now, search engine, nobody really knows, specifically, but again, it's, the reason why the top products are ranked, 1, 2, 5, 10 in the category is, let's be honest, Amazon's probably making the most money off those products at that point in time. So, Amazon wants you to spend to be there. It's a pay to play environment now. Yeah. But again, Amazon's making money. That's they're a money making machine. That's what they are. So
yeah. So I mean, what you mentioned is so true. There's so many different numbers that you're watching. So what I always recommend people to watch is, first of all, especially if they are in beauty industry and they are doing distribution, they've got to be watching the buy box retention. So what percentage of the buy box belongs to them? That's a huge number, because think about it, it's a 24/7 play, right? So if you are in the buy box 80% of the time, it may sound very high, but let's face it, that means 20% of the day. 20% of 24 hours is 5 hours. If every hour you're getting 10 orders, that's 50 orders you're losing just on that listing.
But are you losing buy box between, call it 9 a.m. and 1 p.m.,
yes,
which is the highest, which is the highest sales period on Amazon as far as that stuff? Your ads aren't running during that time because you're losing the buy box. Again, 1 penny, 3 pennies down, it could cost, millions of dollars in the grand scheme of things, millions
Exactly.
and millions of dollars to a brand,
Yeah.
depending how big you are. That's why we try to get brands into the gated category, because we don't have to worry about buy box. It's a whole metric. It goes away. We win the buy box 100% of the time, period.
Right.
So
So I say, watch the buy box, watch the conversion rate without a doubt, because conversion rate ultimately, if you are converting at, this is simple math, if you're converting at 10% and you're getting 100 orders a day, you increase that by 10%. So instead of 10, 11%, that 100 plus orders, without you spending extra money, it will go up, which means much better ROI on your advertising efforts. It's frankly plays right into the algorithm that you mentioned, because Amazon likes listings that convert better. So I say conversion rate. I say also always track average order value, because by creating bundles and things like that, you can up the average order value. Well, what happens when you up the average order value? You go from $38 average to $40 average. Well, that's extra $2 across several thousand orders in a year. It's extra cash, right?
Yeah.
So
Two things there is, talking about buy box is in the professional beauty category, vendor or seller, you're probably on Ulta or Sephora. So Sephora doesn't really discount, but they will have their once a year sale. So product X, $100 on Amazon, Sephora drops it down to 80. The buy box actually goes away. It's still there, even though the only seller, but there's one extra step to click into, and it'll say see other options.
right.
Because Amazon is externally price matching with Sephora or with Ulta or whatever, based upon UPC, because everything is UPC based as far as that. Amazon isn't so much. They used to go pretty heavily against Walmart, but then they realized that Walmart.com really was a bunch of third-party sellers. It's really not worth them price matching. But Sephora and Ulta will have their sales, and so Amazon or Nordstrom will price match them, and the buy box goes away, and it'll say see other options. You click on it and say, okay, yes, the seller's there. We're still the same seller, but it has dramatically affected sales for that day or 2 day period. As far as that, I mean, drops of 20, 30, 40, 50% by simply just one thing of the buy box literally going away. Even though it's there, it's an extra click. It greatly impacts the sales on Amazon if external companies, Sephora, Ulta, Nordstrom, etc., are running sales or discounts on your product. So, well,
you just highlighted something that I always tell people: you have to watch the buy box no matter what. There's several scenarios. First of all, yes, Amazon is checking external pricing outside Amazon for your product, and that if they find that it is available at a lower price, they will not leave you in the buy box, even though you may be the only seller. What they do is right next to the picture, they put that link, ugly link that says available from these sellers, where you have to click, and it opens a very unattractive window, and in that window it shows the seller. So that's where you're going to get pushed to if your product is available at a lower price. Number one. Number two, if you have sold your item at a lower price, or you decided to up your price because you're doing so well, Amazon will take you off the buy box. And then you won't show up. Number three, if people buy, you are a prime seller, and people bought and returned, and Amazon decided that they're going to pay you for the merchandise and then consider it slightly used or damaged or package damaged, and they decide that this is perfectly saleable, but they decide to sell it as Amazon warehouse because they now paid you and they own the product. They will sell it as used. Guess what? You will be taken out of the buy box because you will now be another seller where you are competing. It doesn't matter. It's one or two pieces maybe, but doesn't matter. Still, you are going to be losing the buybacks. These are all different scenarios where you will be taken out of the buybacks and your buybacks retention rate will go right down. And when that goes down, your paid campaigns, as you suggested, will stop and your conversion will go straight to the floor.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So these are all things. And thank you for highlighting that. I mean, that's such an easy thing to overlook. And people think, and by the way, you cannot take immediate action for these things, right? You have to wait. Like if you ever increase your price or say, oh, no, my price is okay. It's no longer, no, you have to wait because systems need to catch up and then finally it will self-correct.
Well, like I said, one other thing you talked about was, average order value. One thing we've noticed recently is looking at numbers, subscribe and save. Amazon will put you at subscribe and save at full price. Well, we've had multiple clients now. I said, hey, do you want to do the 10% discount for subscribe and save? So we've had jumps from, 10,000 subscribe and save in a month to 14,000, then 18,000, and then 20,000 within 3 months. So literally within 3 months, we've had, double the amount of subscribe and save. The average order value went from like $32 to like $45.
That's a big deal.
So that's a big, it's a big, granted, yes, listen, 10%. Okay, you're still, you're still giving in money, but it is the average order value plus the residual income over and over and over every month. And you say, oh, over the next 3 months, I see I'm gonna have, I'm gonna have $200,000.
Plus, with higher quantity, you can negotiate better pricing with your suppliers. And things. This is great, Danny. So when I opened it, I introduced you as, not the little guy wherever he goes. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live, and how did you get into this?
I mean, I'm originally from a small town in Michigan. After college, I moved to Detroit, Michigan, just north of Detroit. Went to work for a beauty product distribution company. Well, I'm a software engineer by trade. Went to work for a beauty product distribution company. Was in charge of all their e-commerce website development. And then I left there and started my own software company. And along the way, started, selling on Amazon. Just got the opportunity to sell. Fast forward, I live in Newport Beach now, California. Moved here about 3.5 years ago. No snow, very little rain. Weather's beautiful. Can't complain. I can't complain, but locals, when it gets to 65 degrees, will complain. We'll have their the North Face winter jackets on. But meanwhile, I'm in shorts and t-shirts and flip flops still. So.
So what I'm picking up is software engineer.
Yep.
Basketball player, which means competitive, selling on Amazon. These are not easy things to take on. So it sounds like, you always wanted to be challenged.
So I compete. I've taken, I can't remember what test I took back in the day, but it was my number one trait was competition. Listen, I'll be nice to you, but here's the deal. I'm going to win. Somehow, some way, I'm going to win. I'm thinking in my head, I'm win. Are we playing cards? Are we drinking beer? Are we going skiing? I'm always competing. Listen, am I the best? No, but I'm gonna try my hardest and try to compete. And I've taken that basketball sports competition into the game of business now. And that's where I like to compete. Compete for my clients and and win and ultimately win. I've built a winning team around me. And it takes a team to win. You can't be the best by yourself.
So why do you feel because especially now we live in a country where there are no losers, even so where does your desire for winning come from?
I don't know. I think I was just born with it as far as that stuff, I love to compete. I love to win, some people are born with the trait, some people aren't, and I was always just born with the trait. And so at home, how was it regarded? If you ever lost, was it frowned upon coming second? No, my parents didn't push me, but I've broken enough video game controllers in my life. A few of those have been smashed because I didn't win the basketball game, or football game or Tecmo Bowl, whatever it may be. So there's been a few, video game controllers smashed along the way, but, it just becomes, again, I just enjoy competing. Like I said, I'm not going to do it. It's almost like an internal drive is what I have as far as that stuff. And
so you were born with it, but your parents also encouraged it, I assume, right?
No, they never pushed me. Honestly, they never pushed me to play basketball. They never pushed me to do anything. They never pushed anything on me, which was great. Again, the only reason I started playing basketball, like this is in 5th grade, because my teacher said, "Oh, you're tall. You should play basketball." And I wasn't the best athlete in 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever it may be. I just continued to grow. I think at one point, my freshman year in high school, I was like 6'3", 145 pounds. But I just played basketball for hours. Then I started lifting weights and I got bigger. And then I just, it was just that competitive internal drive to get to that next level, which kept pushing me. So were you challenged as a kid? When I say challenged, did other people or other kids challenge you to do things, or pushing? I think it was, like I said, going back, I think it's the internal drive. Like I said, I wanted to be better than everybody else. I wanted to be better than that person. And I would play with the older kids and, 4, 5, 6, 10 years older sometimes. And I would get my butt kicked, and which drove me and said, okay, I have to be better at this. And then, it's amazing as turning 14, 15, 16, now is beating the 20-year-olds, the 25-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, even the 18-year-olds that I looked up to as a kid. I said, here we go. And so, playing in competitive leagues and just playing against better players are going to make you better. So you were almost like you were born with the purpose to be better than others. Yeah. It's, your story reminds me of a man by the name of Edgar Casey. You familiar with him? No, fan, no. Oh, this is an unbelievable story. It's a true story. Edgar Casey, Casey. Edgar Casey is known as modern day prophet. Okay. So what happened to him was, when he was a kid in like early 1900s, when he was a kid, he was walking around playing in the woods, and one day suddenly he sees a bright light, and this bright light speaks to him and says, "Edgar, what do you want to do with your life?" And he says, "I want to help people." Mm-hmm. So just like you, I want to be better than anybody. So I want to help people. So then the voice says, "Okay, you're going to have your wish." So the next thing that happens is he's studying. His father is testing him. He's got a history exam about presidents, and he's failing. He's not giving the right answers. And he's got the book, and his father says, "Okay, I want you to study this next chapter, and then I'm going to come ask you questions to get you prepared for tomorrow." And he says, "Okay," but he falls asleep on the book right by the fireplace. And his father shows up, says, "What are you doing? You were supposed to study." And says, "Oh, sorry, father, I was tired." And then says, "Okay, let's see how much you know." And he knows all the answers. From that point on, he started to know all the answers. And then growing up, he started to see the aura around people. And he would go up to the fence and say, "Oh, Mrs. Marple, you seem angry today. What's wrong?" And she would say, "How do you know I'm angry today?" Because he could see a red aura around him. And look him up. Edgar Casey, modern day prophet. They also called him sleeping prophet, because he would tell people, he would give people their cure, but the way he figured out was he would lie down, go to sleep, and then start to develop visions. But he knew right from the time he was a kid what he wanted to do. And when he said, "I always wanted to be better than this," it kind of came to my mind. But like I said, I'm competitive, but I'm also, the fact is I surround myself with a lot of smart people, business people, financial, real estate, whatever it may be. Listen, I don't know everything. I'm not complaining about everything.
Sure,
I soak up a lot of things like a sponge, but I like to learn as well too. Like I said, I constantly, again, Amazon or life or whatever it may be, it's always constantly learning. And if you stop learning, you just can't stop.
Well, you're competing with yourself too. I mean, that's being competitive is not only against others. You are gonna feel bad yourself. What kind of a person am I? I haven't made any progress. So it goes with the territory. So this is great. I now know exactly you're not the kind of man to mess with. So I can see why your clients are successful. So tell us about how people can contact you. Give us your contact information.
Yep. So our website is beBOLDdigital.com, or you can contact me via email, Denny, DENNY at beBOLDdigital.com. So
great. Thank you, Denny. This was great. And I'm sure people will reach out to you. And this was great information.
Awesome. Thank you, Nix. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And that brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure and subscribe, rate, and review our show. And be sure and share an episode with a friend. And thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you next week here on Amazon Legends.